We're going to run through a few examples here. I'll try to keep this shorter than usual. I'll break these up into, well, that's 6 problems. So, okay, let's get started. We have a shortcut when you're working with a product of functions. Sometimes you have no other choice but to treat it as a product. You can't expand it. It is a product. And how do you differentiate that? Well, here's our rule. If you have a product, then no matter how many factors you have, each factor needs to be multiplied or differentiated and multiplied by the other factor. So I did that twice here. Notice first F prime, and then I got G prime. Now keep in mind, if you have 3 functions like F, G, and H, then the derivative of that would be F prime G H plus F G prime H plus F G H prime. And so on. No matter how many factors you have, this is what you have to do. Okay, so usually we just get 2 or 3 factors tops. So in most of our exercises. So let's see what we got here. Okay, product of sine and cosine. Well, if you can't find any other way to do this, then you're going to go F prime is derivative of sine, which is a cosine, times the cosine, and then plus the sine times the derivative of the cosine, which is a negative sign. Simplified, this becomes cosine squared of x minus sine squared of x. Sometimes you can see little shortcuts. We know this is actually the cosine of 2x. We didn't know that ahead of time. Okay, now, and you can leave, both answers are fine. This is fine, this is fine. But noticing things like this is going to help you down the road. Simplifications like that. Okay, now here we have a product. This is essentially a polynomial. If you expanded this, you would get a 3-term polynomial, trinomial. And then you can differentiate it like that. But we're not going to. We're going to use the product rule. So derivative of the first factor is a 1 times the other factor. Okay, technically, like so. Plus x plus 1 times the derivative of this factor, which is a 3. So each factor has its derivative times the other. And then usually you can simplify a little bit. Not always, but if you can, you should. So that didn't take much to write 6x plus 1. Next one, we have x times the sine of x. G prime would be 1 times the sine of x plus x times the cosine of x. And there's really not much you can do with that. Just write it this way. Here we have a quotient. Doesn't have to be a quotient. It could be written before you start. Preliminarily, you could write sine of x like so, and then an x to the negative 1. Okay, so that's how we can turn it into a product, and then go ahead and use the product rule. G prime would be cosine of x times x to the negative 1. And then you'd have plus sine of x times negative x to the negative 2. That's the derivative of x to the negative 1. Okay, so you have to, in a sense, we could have viewed it like this, sine of x times 1 over x. But in any case, it looks like that. And then one more step to get these negative exponents out of here. You could factor in x to the negative 2. In fact, yeah, let's take an x to the negative 2 out. That will make this x, cosine x, minus a sine x, like so. And you could finally write that as x cosine x minus sine x, all divided by x squared. Okay. That's about it for that one. Okay. Let's continue over here on this next one. Let's see, we're going to have, all right, the next one we have, let's see, what do we have here? Okay, next one we have product down here. Okay, let's just jump right in. Give myself a little room. F prime is 2x plus a 2 times the sine of x plus x squared plus 2x times the cosine of x. So I got the derivative of each factor, and I have the sum. All right, here, well, let's see, what can we do? I think possibly just expanding 2x plus, well, go back there. 2x, let's start that, restart. This will be 2x sine x plus 2 sine x plus x squared cosine x plus 2x cosine x. That's probably about the best you could do. You might say, you know, let's get those x terms together. You've got 2x, and then you have a sine x plus a cosine x. You could say that. And then these other two terms, well, like I said, there's really not much you can do here. X squared cosine of x, and then a 2 sine of x. There's really no right or wrong way to write this. Maybe you might want to say, I'm going to put that x squared term first, and then put the other terms behind it. This is just a matter of choice on this last step. Technically speaking, I mean, this was the derivative right here. And what we did was not really necessary. We made it look a little nicer, maybe. You can argue that. Anyway, okay, next one, G prime. Well, it's not a product, is it? So we notice that before we even find G prime, we'd have to write this as 4x minus 5 times 4x minus 5. Now it's a product. So G prime would be 4 times the 4x plus 5. Okay, sorry, it's a minus 5. Okay, I get it sloppy here. Can't see my own writing. Okay, so that's 4x minus 5, like that. And then this, somehow I morphed into a plus here, which was wrong. Okay, that's still a minus. Then you have 4 times another 4x minus 5. So it looks like we have 8 of those, right? 8 times 4x minus 5. And it's finished.